Hey, this is Lamar Tyler from Traffic Sales and Profit.
And I'm Freddie Taylor with Urban Intellectuals.
And together we're here to present Black business icons. We're talking about breaking down some of the best that have ever done it in our community when it comes to entrepreneurship. And Freddie, today is no different. This is one I've been looking forward to. We got two icons across, maybe like some similarities between them, right? And what they do a little bit.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to your person, but of course, I think I got the better of the icons.
Yeah, your people be all right. But just in general, if anybody has been watching these episodes, right?
You're
they
losing.
Know
You're losing.
This is what I need y'all to do, right? Tag Freddie at Urban Intellectuals on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you may be, and just give us a brother some support. Your people been good. I'm not sure they're just quite as interesting as the boss.
Oh, well, we gonna see about this episode here.
But you got a good one though. So I'm a go in a minute to who I consider my make-believe mentor.
I can see that.
Now my make-believe mentor actually one of the main reasons I'm an entrepreneur is based on the work that he did.
Wow.
So I'm gonna come in a second to Earl Graves Sr.
Yeah.
Founder, publisher of Black Enterprise Magazine.
All right.
But you got a banger though. I give it to you. You got a banger.
Earl is strong. Mr. Graves is strong. I be talking like I'm super familiar with
you
him.
know these people. I was like,
I've been studying their story. I'm so inspired by them all though. But let me introduce you to a sister named Maggie Lena Walker. Right? Got a strong sister here that was born in 1864, July 1864 in Virginia. What's interesting, obviously, well not obviously, but her mother.
That's just outside of slavery.
Just outside. Get this though, her dad was a Confederate soldier, an Irish Confederate soldier, right? We know kind of what happened there. Again, we could read between the lines, but she was very fair-skinned. So I guess she could have passed, but she was obviously considered Negro at the time, right? So no education, no formalized education was the plan. But during that Reconstructive era, they did start introducing schools to the system. So she got an opportunity to attend school, and she really credits school and her teachers. Let me say that. The teachers out there, we love the teachers. Y'all play a very important role in this life. You never know who you're inspiring, so keep doing your work. But the teachers is really who inspired her. They instilled a sense of pride in her for her people, her community, wanted her to be more, to do more. They challenged her to greatness, right? Which is really what we need our children to do. In high school, she got introduced to the Fraternal Order of the St. Luke's. This is like a real passionate organization that she got introduced through her church. And she got deeply involved in the organization. She joined the organization. I started working with the organization, but they just believed in uplift in the community, so to speak, right? So just doing a lot of good for the people, giving back, and just trying to build a foundation. But they were struggling, right? So by 1899, they almost went bankrupt. And they had 1,000 members on their roll, and they had $31 in the bank. So people are bailing out of the organization, but Maggie saw an opportunity and stepped in. In fact, her platform in 1901, when she finally rose to the top of the ranks, she took over and said, listen, we need to start a bank, we need to start a department store, and we need to start a newspaper. And that's going to be the foundation of what we're doing here in Richmond. And she did it, right? She jumped right into it. In 1903, she actually chartered the first woman-chartered bank in the country, not black woman.
Just woman.
Woman-chartered bank in the country. And she was the first woman president in the country as well. And this was 1903, right? And she was real strong for her sayings of, hey, individually, your nickels and dimes don't mean nothing, but collectively, with thousands, we can create dollars in our community. She was strong about economic impact and preached that gospel religiously through her news outlets, through her Fraternal Order of the St. Luke's, and through the Luke's Penny and Savings Bank, right? In Richmond, Virginia, there were streetcars, right? So this is height of Jim Crow and segregation in the early 1900s. And frustration, right? They're mad. Of course they're mad, right? Treated like a half a citizen. This is unfair. We're tired of it. She said, she said, we need to make change, but instead of the ballot, we need to use the dollar. And in 1905, they organized a strike of the streetcars, right? So we always talk about Montgomery, Alabama's bus boycott and the economic impact that it crippled that union. But this happened in Richmond, Virginia. They boycotted the streetcars for 2 years.
Oh, hold on, not 2 weeks. I thought maybe you was about to say 2 months. 2 years.
2 years. They drove that company to their knees. They bankrupted the organization and ran them out of business. This is what I wish we would do today, right? This is the lesson that we're learning over 100 years ago, that our dollars matter. And now we spending what, 1.4 trillion a year. Like, imagine if we had the collective use of that inside of our communities. This is where we gotta go. But she was big on the economic impact and philanthropy. But organized through her newspaper, this is how she disseminated that information. That organization, St. Luke's, she rose from 1,000 members to, when she took it over, to over 100,000 members, and they had over $500,000 in their bank account. Like, she just made a real dramatic impact in the Richmond, Virginia area. And if you recall, that rusty dusty 1929 was always looming, right? So here comes another economic crash. And that it was decimating not only black banks in the community, but white banks, all banks was really struggling through that. So they actually consolidated and formed the Consolidated Bank and Trust with other Richmond banks in order to survive that 1929 crisis. But during her tenure, she was known specifically for hiring black women, because she said we were oppressed, but black women are doubly oppressed because they got the double minority of women and black women, right? So she's talked a lot about opportunity and giving them opportunity. At the time, they could only, get domestic jobs. They were washers, they're cooks, they're taking care of kids. But she was hiring them as stenographers and typists and bookkeepers and things of that nature, so that they could have a career outside of the home. And something that she spoke deeply about was dignity. She's like, want to give them a job that they could be proud of, a career that they could talk about and hold their chest and head up high. She was voracious about her philanthropy and giving back and helping in the community. She was very active with bringing the NAACP to town and all types of activism in the organization. But it just harkens back to the theme that's running through all of our business icons is community give back, support, philanthropy. We got to help one another. Let's lift as we climb. It's just the same thread running through pretty much all of our icons.
I love it. And as you talk about, again, if we go back, we talking about someone born just on the heels of slavery being abolished. Yeah. And growing something that, again, would be admirable today. And we say, but Lamar, it's harder to do, a bank today because we're oppressed. The system is against us. I think the system was against her too, right? We're talking the early 1900s. Yes. Being able to really create something, and then not just create it, but grow it, like you said, right? Start what you started with and then taking it to where she did. It's an amazing story. What's even more amazing is that I haven't heard more about that story. Being, oftentimes, a lot of time in my life, I spent down in the Virginia area. A lot of people I know from the Virginia area, and I bet you they still don't know that name.
Yeah, it's really sad. We got to do a better job of getting these icons out there for the inspiration that they're going to give to people, the next generation. Our children need to see individuals that look like them, come from places that they come from, do great things like Maggie L. Walker did.
And that's good. There's nothing new under the sun. So if they did it, we can follow the process, we can learn from them, and then create these own things in our own communities, in our own businesses, in our own families.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love that. But now I want to share a little something about my man.
Let me hear about this young man.
Again, my unofficial mentor in my head.
In my head.
One time I told you, I saw him on the yard at Morgan State University. Well, he was cool. I saw him, he was chilling, had the pork chops. I said, that looks like Mr. Earl Graves Sr. over there. I didn't even talk to him, I was paralyzed. I felt like I was in the G Hive. The Graves Hive. Before there was a beehive, Freddie, there was a G Hive. And I was in it.
I like it.
And I'm going to tell you why Earl Graves Sr. is so important to me. Even though we never met face to face. I've been in the room with him, in the same room at some of the Black Enterprise events and conferences. But the impact of what he created made an impact on me and has allowed me to make an impact on the lives of others. I'm talking about being a teenager and for the first time cracking over Black Enterprise magazine and being able to see people that looked like me that were succeeding in business. And I didn't know anyone, like I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs, so there's nobody in my family I knew that had a business. There weren't people close to me I knew they had a business. So to open up those pages and see successful Black men and Black women that owned hotels, that owned IT corporations and car dealerships and food service companies and construction companies. And I remember like looking down one by one. Every year they would come out with the BE 100s, right? Like the Black community's 100 top companies. Right. And I literally would just be looking down row by row by row, like look at the names, how much they made, where they from. And I'm looking like, this person's in Fairfax, Virginia. That ain't even far from me. This person is in McLean. This person is in Rockville, Maryland, right? This person's in DC. And it just opened up a new opportunity. Like same reason we're doing the show, because we just want to expand people's mindsets around what they think entrepreneurship is. Right. And that's what Earl G Sr. and Black Enterprise did for me.
That's strong.
Now, let's jump into the story. Amazing story. Black man, raised in New York, right? New York City, goes on to launch Black Enterprise magazine. First issue releases August 1970. He does that with a $175,000 loan, along with money he received from advertisers that wanted to advertise inside of the magazine. Now, he knew that we needed something that represented Black business. He knew he wanted to create something that made Black people aspire towards something better, either whether it came from corporate, whether it came from entrepreneurship, whatever it may be. And what he built in Black Enterprise was kind of like a connection of Fortune magazine, Money magazine, white business magazines, all wrapped up, but specifically created and crafted to us, and then going out and telling advertisers and proving to them that you need to advertise in this magazine because you need to reach the Black community. And I think what's crazy is that your Earl G Sr., your John H. Johnson, the fellas at Essence Magazine, that they had to actually convince people that they should advertise to Black folks. Like that's even like mind-boggling, right? Right? And if you look now how much these same corporations make off the backs of Black folks. Just to think we had to convince them to even start in the first place. So I'd go over that for a while. Let me keep moving this story.
Beat that one up. Yeah.
But one of the things I love about Earl G Sr., right? I attended Morgan State. And when I went to Morgan State, the very first summer I got there, right before freshman year, I was in like this the building was old, man. It was like it was old, it was tough, wasn't no air conditioning. We're in Baltimore City, July, sweltering heat, in a building with no air conditioning, and the windows don't even open all the way up, they just slant open.
Oh.
So we in there sweating and everything, but what they say is, hey, y'all are the last group of people that'll be in this building because we're about to renovate the whole thing. And this will be the main primary building for the Earl G Sr. School of Business.
Wow.
So at that point, I already know who he is, so I'm excited to be there, sweating bullets and all. Right? I got a story. I'll be the last one in the building before Mr. Graves get back. But looking at what he built, what he gave back, we've been talking about legacy. Not only did he found and create Black Enterprise, what many people don't know, he actually ran the #1 Pepsi bottling plant. And his partner was none other than Traffic Sales and Profit, TSP Live 2022 speaker, Magic Johnson. Well, they actually partnered together in the DC area with a PepsiCo bottling plant.
Really?
So, I mean, this brother just not, lending the stories of entrepreneurship. He was a true entrepreneur himself. He partnered with a good friend of ours, right? We saw him at TSP Live, Traffic Sales and Profit Live 2022, Irvin Magic Johnson. And they partnered together on a Pepsi-Cola bottling plant based in DC, which was the top minority-owned franchise inside of Pepsi's ecosystem.
Wow.
And he was the actual CEO of that Pepsi bottling plant until 1998 when he actually sold it then back to Pepsi. And with Black Enterprise, I mean, you have to think, circulation of Black Enterprise peaked at 500,000 subscribers and readers and people getting a hold of it on newsstands. That's 500,000 people is a lot of people to like physically be reading your publication. And it's easy for somebody to say, well, I gotta have many people on Instagram now. Yeah, that's cute. But that's clicking a button. That's not people actually like sending in checks, right? Like calling and picking up the phone, a lot of what you had to do back then. Swiping a credit card to say, hey, I want this, and I want it in my home, I want it in my mailbox, I want it on my coffee table every single month. And that story, it just resonates with me so profoundly. And it's amazing what he's done. He went on there to sit on several boards. Aetna, American Airlines, Daimler Chrysler. I mean, just the highest levels of corporations and the highest levels of business, entrepreneurship, and executive suite levels. Wow. But one of my favorite stories is I was reading this book, because I was already a big fan, right? So when this book first came out, How to Succeed in Business Without Being White. And this had to be like late 90s, right? I was working at Navy Federal Credit Union. So I'm at Nate Federal Credit Union down in the cafeteria, minding my business. Here come Mr. Karen. Mr. Karen.
Mr. Karen.
We got a name for Karen dude. Here come Mr. Karen.
We doing Kevin?
Here come Barry.
Here come Barry.
Right?
I like it.
Mr. Karen is Barry. So here come Barry. I'm reading my book, minding my own business, Freddie. Down there, brother, getting a little read on while he eating. So I'm eating and reading. Brother telling me how to succeed in business without being white. As I'm reading, here come Barry. Barry comes down, grabs the book. What would make you grab somebody's book?
No boundaries. Don't understand
Right,
boundaries
exactly.
at all.
Personal space. He grabs the book. Ooh, what's this you're reading, right? He turns that cover over. How to succeed in business without being white. Darren turns beet red, right? He's flushed. He doesn't know what to do. He's about to go into a panic attack.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I would know how to succeed in business too. Right. He throws the book down and runs out the door. I don't even know if he ran out the door, but in my mind,
it's better that way.
Yeah, right. So I'm enjoying every minute of it now, and I'm thinking in my mind, that's what you get. Yeah. Don't touch my stuff. But even that book, the nuggets I got from it. One of the most inspirational speeches I heard was a Black Enterprise Entrepreneurs Conference, where Mr. Graves stood up, right, a few years before he left the company as CEO and passed it down to his son, Earl Bush Graves Jr. Legacy again. I was going there, legacy again. But he gave the most amazing talk, talking about how he grew that magazine and the advertising, how many doors he had to knock on to get people to even, again, believe that they should spend money by advertising to Black folks. Who are, the data show it, right? The best consumers, the most loyal consumers that spend the most and most often, right, with you. But he had to just try to prove it to people that even should spend their time, money, and efforts to advertise to Black people. But he talked about that and how he grew it. He talked about raising a family as an entrepreneur. He talked about the support system that his wife provided for him. Which is a story, right, that we know exists, but we don't hear often enough. Never. And his wife, just before she passed, was in the audience, and he kind of gave major kudos to her. How early in the day she was the secretary, and she was the COO, and she was like every position that needed to be, right. Like she literally was all of them to make it all happen. But I just learned so much from watching him. Like never had a direct conversation, but just from watching him, and then watching and talking to and knowing some of the people that are either in that Black Enterprise building or came from that Black Enterprise building. What I've seen, even after his life and after he's left this earth, his legacy and what he built and the way that he worked still continues, right? Like I saw a great quote by a good friend of mine, Alfred Edmond Jr., who's a senior vice president of Black Enterprise. He said one of Mr. Graves', no one things he would say about, working in the office and being a part of that team is that it's excellence, no excuses. That just there says it all. One of the things we continually talk about on this show. And what are some of the common threads that you see among excellence? We talking about Black business icons, like these icons, sometimes they cross and they're in the same generation, sometimes they're not. But what we're seeing is a consistent path for what this level of success looks like. Work ethic, excellence being the standard, not giving up. Being told no is not something that makes them, pick up their little ball and go home. It's just, okay, I get back out there the next day and I'm going to ask somebody else. I'm going to ask the same person in a different way until I get my yes. They just cannot be denied. And I love it, man. This is what it's really about when you talk about entrepreneurship.
I love that, the excellence piece, but it reminds me of John H. Johnson when he talked about, I've never experienced discrimination when I was better than everyone else. Right? Like excellence, when I operate in excellence, it doesn't matter. Even your racism can't hold me back. Seeing yourself in your business, seeing other entrepreneurs that look like you in business and doing successful things. Booker T. Washington put out a book way back when called The Negro in Business. And it was literally like that BE 100 is literally a whole book of business owners in the early 1900s. Might be late 1800s, fact check me on that one. But it's the same concept. We need to see ourselves out there doing these great things. So I think Earl Graves was taking it to the next level. But here goes a similar concept of the elders understanding how important it is for people to see the success in their community.
Yeah, exactly. And guess what? Again, when we talk about legacy If you still want to see what we're talking about, Black Enterprise is still here, it's still kicking, it's still doing events, and they still have information and content available for you. We want to share this information so you can just get a hold of it. You can begin to hear these stories and then go research them and learn more about these great individuals and icons yourself, because guess what? If they did it, you can too, and you may be the next one. So we can't wait to see you on the next episode as we go deeper with Black business icons.
The Convo, your home for conversations on Black entrepreneurship and wealth, available on your favorite platforms.